buenas tardes, buenas noches. Ya son tardes y noches because we have been here all day long with our Guadalupe on 2022, our day of Giving Tuesday, where we ask you to donate to us, to donate with your financial support, but we also bring lots of good things to you. Lots of informative discussions and some behind the scenes thinking and thoughts and planning and the machinations of the cultural programming that goes on at the Guadalupe Cultural Arts Center. This evening, right now, we're about to do a little segment that I really have been looking forward to. A few weeks ago, I think it was already like 2 weeks ago, we had a special dance performance here at the Guadalupe Theater by the Guadalupe Dance Company, which was called Soy Malintzin. It was a dance interpretation of La Malinche, inspired and supported by the San Antonio Museum of Art and with a special exhibit on La Malinche that is at the museum right now through January 8th. So SAMA wanted to partner with the community on many aspects of this exhibit. And I was lucky enough to be on the community advisory panel for that exhibit at SAMA. And when we were there discussing programming ideas associated around with our exhibit, El Doctor Tomás Ibarra Frausto was also part of this advisory panel. And he has always been very, very supportive of the Guadalupe Dance Company. And he brought the company up. He said, well, the Guadalupe Dance Company does all kinds of dances and interpreted dance, and not just the ballet folclórico and the flamenco, but lots of interpretations on different aspects of South Texas culture, and they do some very nice dances. And so from there, from Dr. Ibarra Frausto's suggestion and recommendation, the San Antonio Museum of Art went ahead and asked our dance company to choreograph an entire performance, and that was presented here on November 18th to a sold-out audience, and it was an absolutely beautiful show. Absolutely beautiful. After the show, I thought, oops, we should have done a Q&A session and had just a post-show discussion, a Platica. We didn't think of it. We were just too busy with a lot of things. So we thought we'd take this opportunity here for Guadalupe-thon, to do that post-show Platica, and all of you can enjoy it at home. We are on the lookout if you're watching this, and if you have any questions. If you're watching, you're watching either on Facebook or on YouTube, and I'm going to be on the lookout on the phone in case you have any questions. Feel free to drop them in the comments, and we'll be happy to answer your questions. And we have about 20 minutes for this discussion, which I need to hurry up and get it going because the introduction has already taken too long. But in the next 15 minutes or so, feel free to drop your questions on the Facebook post or the YouTube post. So joining me here tonight they're not founders, but yes, Jeannette is a founder, and Belinda got here as soon as it was founded. Longtime members of the Guadalupe Dance Company, and the two women responsible for building this program to what it is now, an institution in San Antonio, part of the Guadalupe Cultural Arts Center. So first here I have Miss Belinda Menchaca, who is our education director and one of the dance company members, and she was a director for a long time. And then Miss Jeannette Chavez, who was here at the beginning, one of the founding members of the Guadalupe Dance Company, and then she joined on staff as director, as coordinator, then director. And Jeannette Chavez is now the dance director for the Guadalupe Dance Company. And then, of course, we have Mr. Jorge Piña over there, legendary teatrista and theater director here of the Guadalupe. So, okay, so then I'm going to throw it to you, Jeannette. I'm going to ask you. So, the Sama came and asked, can y'all do this? And what did you say?
Well, we were at a dance conference that we attend every year. It was in July. So, of course, while we're away, we're in classes all day long, but we're still working. So we're checking our emails. And we received an email from Sama, and I pulled Belinda aside. I said, "Did you see this email from Sama?" So we responded right away. Yes, we're out of town. We'd love to connect and find out exactly what it is that you're interested in. So it turned out that they were interested in commissioning an entire dance production with live music in our theater. So while we have worked with Sama in the past, the dance company has done family days, we've done some workshops, we've done some pop-up events at Sama. This is the first time that we've ever done this type of collaboration. So it was new for us in that regard. But yeah, we definitely said we're in. We're completely in. So it was exciting for sure.
So then what happened next, Belinda, after, okay, you discussed and you agreed, okay, then what happens? How do you do a show like this? Then what do you do next? How did this come together?
So we were very fortunate in that soon after they asked us, we actually had a residency with Maestro Juan Carlos Gaitan, who happened to be in San Antonio, and we had already started working on a different project with him. And so we explained to him that we had this opportunity to produce an original work based on La Malinche, and we proposed it to him, and he actually initiated the choreography. So he created the first piece, and then from there, that was like the inspiration for the rest of the performance. And so the dancers did their own research. We were able to access the beautiful catalog that Sama put together for this exhibit. So we were able to see the exhibit beforehand and be inspired by the work and really, reclaim her identity and really see her from a different perspective. So this has been a very meaningful collaboration for us because it speaks to our history, it speaks to our culture, and so we feel very fortunate to have worked with Maestro Juan Carlos, and then for the dancers to be inspired by that initial piece.
And Maestro Juan Carlos is a dance instructor from...
He is from Colima, Mexico. So we were first introduced to Maestro Juan Carlos when we premiered Rio Bravo in 1994. It was choreographed by his predecessor, Maestro Rafael Samarripa, and Juan Carlos came as a student back in 1994, and we've maintained our relationship with him throughout all these years, and he is now a director in his own right, choreographer, director, and so we are fortunate to work with him on several projects, and this being the latest one.
I have to interject. So it was serendipitous for sure, because as soon as we got back from that dance conference, he was already scheduled to be here. And like Belinda mentioned, we were already on track to do something else, and we said, we're going to shift gears, and he completely did so. But at that point, we didn't know how long. We were still figuring that out with Sama, how long of a production we were looking at. So we were starting to choreograph basically in the dark, right? We didn't know exactly what it was going to look like at that point, but he definitely was a catalyst. He catapulted us into the rest of the choreography.
So, Jeannette, tell me then, you all started doing research and everything. So what does La Malinche mean? Who is she, and what does she end up meaning to you and to the Guadalupe Dance Company?
So prior to this, interesting enough, I did not know really anything about La Malinche other than the negative connotation associated with her name, right? But I had never done any research, unfortunately, of myself. So when we were approached by Sama, we had to create something completely from scratch. And so in order to do that, with respect to her and who she is, the dance company completely delved into doing their own research. So everybody was checking out books from the library, doing Google searches. We watched documentaries. And every rehearsal, we would come together and share that information. Well, and a lot of stories were conflicting. So she was a slave as of like 12 years old, given from one tribe to another, and eventually was given to Hernan Cortez. And she eventually became his translator. And because she had already been through different tribes, she was able to translate from one tribe to another and also wound up learning Spanish. So she was obviously a very smart woman. And she is known, right, as a traitor to her original tribes. But the exhibition and in our work in the choreography, we really wanted to approach her from her perspective, get to know her and tell her story as best as we could, artistically, obviously. But that's kind of it in a nutshell.
Right here, I'm gonna bring in Jorge to the conversation. You read my mind, Jorge. We weren't ignoring you, because then I remember it was kind of at this point, and I don't remember if we were at a staff meeting or something, and Jorge said at one point, he's like, "You're doing a show on La Malinche?" He said, "That's a big deal. You know who La Malinche is? And who did you say she was?"
Well,
The mother of Chicanos.
for us, certain, as Jeannette explained, she was a traitor, a slave. But for me, she was beyond a victim. For us, for many during the Chicano movement, she was the mother of La Raza Cósmica. Because for us, we as mestizos, as Chicanos, we are the ultimate mestizo. And so for we saw La Malinche as a hero, as an icon, as a positive person. And many visual artists painting her with strength. Not somebody that was lonely or forgotten or a traitor, but a woman of great strength. And this is what I loved about the dance pieces. So it was a 1-hour piece, 10 movements. Each movement, some were maybe 3 minutes, others were a lot longer. Some movements had 5 small pieces. And so it was quite unique in the way it was styled. The choreography. Now, it's not just one single choreographer like in most dance pieces. Every dance company member was a choreographer, and that was quite unique. You don't see that very much in dance companies. So that was really unique. And the music, under the guidance of Gino Rivera, carried the show with interludes and gave the performance, the movement, the gestures, the passion. And then he pushed it with the music, and that took it to the next level. Plus, also the designers. We had incredible designers here. Tyler Cozart, light designer. Zach Wash with the set. Jorge Luis Cambó with everything else, all the above, all the production values. Diego Rivera, who helped us with the carpentry. We had a small little pyramid up on the stage. So there was a great team effort. Production values. And then the dance company working it hard for months, every Saturday and every chance you all could, and to create it. And people don't realize how difficult it is to create something from scratch, whether it's a play, a symphony, a dance. Very difficult because you're going into the unknown. But something with us as artists, we always look at something called the deadline, which is our opening night. And so that's when we had to rush everything, because right before La Malintzin was Dia de los Muertos, and we were so busy with Dia de los Muertos. So congratulations to the company and everyone involved.
And Jeannette, Jorge brought up a very good point, which I think is maybe what makes the Guadalupe Dance Company very unique. Your members, you all have been dancing together for many years, probably for more than decades, in some of the members, decades, right? So, and you all have been all over the state dancing together in big shows and small shows. So, se conocen muy bien, se leen la mente, right? And you said that this choreography, like Jorge pointed out, it wasn't one choreographer. It was several choreographers among the group. What I was impressed with is when you said that the research was done really by all the members of the group, and then so it was a collaborative process. And then some of the members were more leaders in the choreography. Tell me more about who those members were and what that was like.
Yeah, so definitely. We usually work as a collaborative, and we definitely needed that this time around. We run a pretty short time crunch to create something from scratch. So the lead choreographers were Luis Garcia, Carolina Guerra, Marlene Pita, Denise Rios, of course, Belinda Menchaca, always myself, and Rodrigo Gonzalez, which is almost everyone.
I was going to say, those were the lead choreographers. That's the whole company.
Yes. And most of the company members have been together for about 20 years. So we definitely can read each other's minds and moods, and we can gently suggest and, try things out. Even if we don't want to be crawling around on the floor, we're like, okay, we'll crawl around on the floor for you. And so that's how we were able to create the work. It's a safe space for us to work, especially as folcloristas. We do traditional folclórico, and we do our flamenco work, and this is completely outside of that, but also not so much, right? Because it comes from that like folklorico vocabulary, and of course a little bit of Spanish and flamenco when Hernan Cortés came in. We had to use some of that. But yes, definitely a collaborative effort in the research, the choreography, and selecting music, everything.
We were going to have some of the other choreographers here today, and unfortunately today, nothing worked out today. We were going to have Gino Rivera here also as part of this Platica. Y está enfermito. Gino se enfermó. He's sick. Get better, Gino. But as Jorge pointed out, the musicians did astounding work. Gino Rivera and Mariachi Azteca de America are mariachis.
Right.
And they did indigenous music for this program. And they even dressed, they had indigenous uniform clothing. And, and they played instruments that I had never seen them, with before. And it was four of his guys, and they did an absolutely beautiful job. I was so impressed.
I really enjoyed that they were in the stage. Many times with these kinds of productions, they hide the musicians either in an orchestra pit or in the wings or in the side. They were on stage, so the audience got to see all the musicians throughout the whole time, during the whole movement. And that was quite unique, and that's really the Sala Teatro Chicano. We don't hide the músicos. But congratulations on a lot of levels. It's a brand new work. People don't realize how much work is involved, because it really takes artistic courage. And then to sell tickets, come and see my new show. I don't know if it's going to work or not, but come on by. But it does, because the company's been together for a long time, and just the title itself. And the Malintzin, and La Malinche has numerous titles, correct? And you all selected La Malinche. So Malintzin, I'm curious, how did you select that name instead of Malinche?
You hear me? Okay. So she had different names, right? So she started off, I'm not sure if it was Malinali or Malintzin. I can't remember at the moment, I'm sorry. But as she was traded from tribe to tribe and to the Spanish, one group couldn't pronounce the name correctly, so it would change. And then the other group couldn't pronounce her name correctly, so it would change. So it was constantly changing. So she's known as La Malinche, but again, the negative connotation associated with that name, that wasn't even really her name, right? So in our show, since we were presenting it from her perspective, we wanted to say, Soy Malintzin. That is my name. So that's why we selected that.
An affirmation,
Right.
A self-affirmation. Dr. Antonia Castañeda, after the show, she did come to me and tell me, she said, that was a wonderful women-centered performance and interpretation and performance, because it really was women-centered. And we are run out of time, but we're having this conversation just to share with you, our audiences and our supporters, the depth of the work that happens here at the Guadalupe, that has been happening, over the last several years. A lot goes into this, and a lot of thought and a lot of meaning. We didn't even get to talk about the costumes. We want to thank Mary Rodriguez for coming in and doing consulting on the costuming, but that was also a very well thought out process. All the way down to, I'm just going to say real quick because this was an important detail. At the end, the guayaberas, the last movement, the last dance, was that was the raza cósmica, right? That was the mestizos.
The modern.
Yes, and they had guayaberas of different shades of brown and black, because that represents us, the Latinidad, and the different shades of brown and black that we have in ourselves and our people. So the Guadalupe Cultural Arts Center continues to do thoughtful and meaningful and relevant work that is advancing, our discourse as Chicanos and Latinos and our including our Native American heritage. So I was terribly proud of this program. It was wonderful. And so that's why we're asking you to contribute to the Guadalupe and give a donation. There's links on the posts. Just click on those links and give a donation, or you can send it in. You have the next few days to give your donation. To close this out, I'm going to ask the two dancers, Belinda and Jeannette, just real quick to close this out. What did La Malinche teach you personally through this process?
I think for us, it was really that collaborative effort. While we have done that throughout the years, bonded us even more because it was a very emotional process. Learning and reliving and reimagining La Malinche and her survival was very emotional. It was a very emotional process. And so I think it really brought us together even more as a company. And we have much respect for each other, but we have much respect for what this institution stands for. And so we're very proud to add this to our repertoire.
Yeah, and definitely pulling from her strength. I can't imagine for a second what it was to walk in her shoes, so to speak, right? So I tell my students all the time, when we're dancing and we're portraying different regions and different dances, that we come from strong people. And this was absolutely another example of that. So when I have a tough day or something isn't going right, I'm like, I come from strong stock way back when. But yeah.
We do. We do come from strong stock. Bueno, gracias. Gracias. Thank you, Jorge, for helping out with this production. Jorge was dragged in to help with it as well, and he did.
Yes.
And thank you to all our staff. Thank you to Jorge Luis Gamboa, who also worked very hard on the tech. And by the way, he's been working very hard today, all day long, behind the camera. So thank you very much. And don't forget to contribute to the Guadalupe Cultural Arts Center this giving season. Make your donation to the Guadalupe. And we'll continue with some more discussions. Coming up next, I think we have a discussion on Cine Festival. So stay tuned to our YouTube channel and our Facebook page. Thanks.